Y'all, it is time. One of my favorite chapters, romantic relationships. So, hold on. Man, it never goes when I want it to. Let go. There we go. All right, cool. Okay. So, interpersonal attraction. Why do we initiate relationships? Okay. Maybe some of you have thought of this, and maybe some of you are like, well, I don't know. We want someone, but I like going over this because it's very basic, but maybe you haven't thought about it. Maybe you have and you're a step ahead, and good for you. Similarity. So I know they say opposites attract, and I'm not negating that. Neither is your textbook. But if you think about it, initially we are attracted to someone who we have things in common with. It doesn't have to be everything, but maybe it can be like a viewpoint. It can be something you're interested in. It could be a belief. It could be a hobby. So something that we have in common can be attractive to us. Physical, sexual, social, and task attraction. So these are kind of fun to talk about it. Let's break them down. Sorry, y'all. I can't sit still. I should have done this before I started. Okay. Physical attraction is different than sexual attraction. So they're not mutually exclusive. So what that means is you can be all four types of attraction to someone, okay? You can be 2 out of the 4, etc., okay? But physical attraction is different than sexual attraction. I am a heterosexual female. I can still be physically attracted to another female, and that doesn't mean that I want to hook up with her, that I want to be physically intimate with her. So the best way to think about that is think about like if you have a friend or someone that always like just looks really good all the time, really put together. It can be that you think they're attractive, but it could even be on like a basic level of how they dress, how they carry themselves physically. Guys, I know with the way that masculinity is set up, you're like, I don't know what a good-looking guy looks like. Yeah, you do. You're just not allowed to admit it because society would be like, oh, whatever. Y'all know how I feel about that. But guys, if you're struggling with like, no, I'm not sexually or physically attracted to males, it could be that like this guy always has like nice clothes, like you like his style, or he always has some, he has really good taste in shoes and he always has 6 shoes on. Okay. Sexual attraction. I don't need to go over that. We all know what that means. Social attraction. So with social attraction, I want you to think of how they are socially, right? Like maybe think about personality characteristics. Maybe they're that person that can make anybody in the room laugh and that's really attractive to you. It's not that you want to be in a relationship with them. It's not, that doesn't mean that every other quality about them is good or that you even like it, but you're socially attracted to how they carry themselves I keep saying it, but on a social level. So this one isn't about physical. Task attraction, that one's really cool. So task attraction is where you are attracted to the way that they can complete tasks. So think about people that you work with. So maybe there is someone that you work with that you might not hang out with them on the weekends, and I don't mean that in a mean way. But you work really well together. Like they bring out the best in you, or like your work ethic matches, or, even if you're opposites and they chill you out when you're stressed out about a deadline, but you're the detail oriented one that helps them. So, yeah, that you are just task attracted to them. As I said, you can be all 4 to someone, but these are different levels of attraction, or different types of attraction that you might find that you have with someone else, why you initiate relationships. Proximity. So at a very basic level, y'all, we initiate relationships with people that are around us. And that's not to say like, well, here we are, couldn't find anyone better. But it makes sense, right? At a very basic level. So, and I don't know if kids in high school now use like dating apps or even like the free ones like Bumble or whatever. I really don't know. But I mean, think about in high school, if you didn't, like I didn't because they weren't around. If you didn't, think about who did you date in high school? Probably people that you went to high school with, right? Who do you talk to in your classes? Probably, if anyone, probably people that you sit near. Okay? So at the very basic level, we initiate relationships with people that are just physically around us. And then complementarity. They meet our needs on some level. That can be, it can be a need for inclusion. It can be a need for a lot of things, right? A need for a compatible companion. It can be a lot of things, okay? All right, let's move on. Communicating our attraction. So now that we are attracted to someone, how do we communicate that? Nonverbal immediacy behaviors. I can't remember if I've gone over these, but if not, regardless, I'll go over them again. These are really interesting. I've done a lot of research on these. Nonverbal immediacy behaviors communicate liking. They communicate liking. So that can be anything from a smile to a hug to eye contact, as simple as that might seem. So yeah, nonverbal immediacy behaviors communicate liking. It can be appropriate touch. It can be, all nonverbal. Reducing uncertainty, y'all know what these are, but I'll go over them very, very quick. You remember uncertainty reduction theory. So how do we communicate our attraction? We reduce uncertainty, aka find out more about them on a level. So passive strategies, you observe them, not in a creepy way, but you just kind of observe them, see how they act, see if, you find them still attractive. Active strategies, you ask a third party about them, okay? And then interactive strategies, you go up and straight ask them. Hey, you single, what are we doing here, okay? Ask questions. So once upon a time, that was in a textbook that I taught from, and the reason I've kept it is because when I was single, I cannot tell you how many dates I went on where that did not happen. Okay. And I'm not saying that, like, I know, don't worry, I'm not that hard up to where I'm like, and I know some of you were like, well, then they weren't attracted to you, or else they would have wanted to know more. No, like, I know that some of them weren't attracted. I'm not talking about that. It would be like the guys that were like, oh, whatever. I sound very bitter, but I'm not, because my husband's amazing, and I would go through all those crappy dates again if it led me to my husband. But y'all know I just get passionate, right? So how do we communicate our attraction? We ask questions, and you should, right? And again, I know that might sound very basic, but I can't tell you how many dates I went on where the guy would claim that he was very attracted, and maybe, well, I shouldn't say this on a recorded video, but I get that claims might be too, anyway. But ask questions, get to know them. That's how we get to know people. Yes, we observe and I get that, sometimes people aren't that great at coming up with questions on the spot on a date or whatever. It's like, well, I don't know what to ask. At the very least, respond and then say, what about you? If you're not good at thinking of questions to ask them about themselves, but you want to get to know them, you ask, what about you? Okay. That kind of leads to the next one, avoid self-absorption. I know that sometimes people get nervous and they, what do we know better than ourselves? So they talk about themselves a lot and they might not mean to, but try to avoid self-absorption. That's kind of the antithesis of asking questions, is to avoid self-absorption. And then compliment. We show our attraction by complimenting people. Okay. All right. I'm going to stop here because I'm going to spend probably a whole lecture on this one. So we'll pick up here with part 2.